The Cassette Vision library has 11 games, and 2 of them are baseball. So 18% of all Cassette Vision games are baseball games. And New Baseball is clearly a revision of baseball. That's Baseball the Cassette Vision game, not Baseball the sport. It uses a lot of the same mechanics, the interface works almost the exact same way. However, they also fixed virtually every complaint I had about the original baseball. And the result is something that's, well, I'm not going to say it's good, but it's something that plays a lot more fast-paced and has a better feel than the original baseball. The biggest change is that there are now 5 game modes. The original baseball had 1, technically. You turned on the game console and then you started playing. All of these game modes are slight variations on each other, but they're important ones. Game Mode 1, the default one, is just the standard 2-player head-to-head. Game Mode 2 puts the computer in charge of fielding, and players alternate batting. Game Mode 3 has the computer bat, and the players are in charge of fielding. Game Mode 4 has the computer play both sides, and Game Mode 5 switches it up, with the computer alternating between controlling, fielding, and batting, which means it's a one-player mode with the player controlling the pink team. Now the computer isn't a good player. When it's batting, it just continuously swings. When it's pitching, the fielders just run back and forth continuously, though the pitching itself seems to be randomized. So there's not an in-depth AI here, it's not a strong opponent that you're going to be playing against, but it lets you play the game without having someone right there. The controls are almost identical. When you're fielding, you use the right-hand side of the Cassette Vision, and the bottom right-hand dial moves the outfielders. Buttons 3 and 4 are for different pitch speeds. 3 throws slow, 4 throws fast. And you have to use the 5-way switch marked course to determine where you're going to throw the ball. The outside 2 throw balls, the inside 3 throw strikes. And this does mean that if you're playing 2 players, they still don't have a solution to the batter just seeing what you're going to throw. The batting side is the biggest change to the interface. You still control batting with lever 1, but now you press left on it to take a full swing, and right on it to bunt. But that's not all. One of my big problems with the original baseball was that it was very deterministic. There were only a handful of field states. It wound up making the game feel a lot like one of those machines where the ball rolls down and you have a spring-loaded bat to knock it into an outfield, and the pit it lands in is supposed to be how well you did with that swing. Epoch still makes those, by the way. In New Baseball, the game feels a lot more dynamic. The ball has more variety in where it can go, and which section of the field it heads to doesn't determine how many bases you advance. There are also fielding errors that can happen, so sometimes you'll just get lucky and they'll drop the ball. Or unlucky if you're the one fielding. And home runs felt a lot more rare. There weren't particular spots you could aim at for home runs. On top of that, the animations are more dynamic. Yeah, I know it's just blocks sliding around, but they didn't even have that before. And there's even a tiny little celebration when they cross home plate. It's a weird little touch that improves the feel of the game. One more significant change that they made is that when the innings change, the screen now flashes with the color of the team that's going to be fielding, and there's a tone to alert players that they need to switch positions. They still have that confusing stat box in the lower right, where strikes, balls, and outs are just presented as a 3-digit number. While documenting these old games, I've had to play a lot of baseball games. And because they're all so similar, they tend to run together. New Baseball is one that I think is actually playable. The thing I liked best in the original Cassette Vision baseball was using the fielders with the dial control, which gave fielding some fun action. Now it feels like the batter gets a bit more of that, and if you're playing against a computer batter, even the pitching's more enjoyable as you try to time a shot to get through those swings. I don't think anyone would want to play New Baseball long term. Cassette Vision games just aren't designed for that. But for a quick session, New Baseball's an interesting, action-y take on baseball. And that, I think, is about the best you're going to get out of the system.